one of the things I felt a lot of the chat GPTs of the world, the Jaspers of the world, the copy.AIs of the world, they've done a really good job of onboarding people to the utility of AI. But one of the things they're failing at is like they're not meeting their users where they are.
Move over, baby boomers. It's time for Gen XYZ. It's time to stop waiting on the world to change. It's time to be the change. It's time to stop thinking about how your life can be better. It's time to start taking action, massive action to improve your life. Join Zach Winter and Mark Adair Rios every week as we learn how others had the grit, determination, and conviction to 10x their lives, and as we explore ways that can help you 10x your life.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of the 10X for Gen XYZ podcast. I'm Zach Winter.
And I'm Mark Adair Rios.
And today, as our guest, we have Brennan Woodruff. Brennan has a finance background. He's worked with KPMG, Uber, Softbank's Vision Fund, and he's also an entrepreneur in the field of artificial intelligence. He co-founded an online AI tool called Go Charlie that's designed to help clients with social media posts, including copy and image creation, blog writing, email content, among several other features. Brennan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I'm happy to be here. It's exciting times in AI, and I've heard great things about podcasts. So this is going to be fun.
Awesome. Yeah. You know, we've done a couple of other AI podcasts with AI-related guests, but we haven't had a guest on who's actually created an online platform for AI. And I did have a chance to go on gocharlie.ai and play around with it, and it's really cool. You know, it's similar to Chat GPT, but it looks like you really honed in and built specific tools for specific aspects of like social media or marketing or blog writing or email marketing. So maybe we can start with taking a step back and telling us about your background and how you ultimately got involved in the project.
Yeah. Totally. I hope you had a lot of fun playing with Charlie. There's so many analogies between training AI models and training puppies that we were like, the branding has to be there. And pop quiz question for those listening, Charlie is actually the name of my co-founder's dog. That's how we named it. It doesn't have any cool AI acronym as much as I tried to get that. But yeah, so starting out a little bit about myself, like I'm originally from place called Evansville, Indiana, that some of you may have heard of, some of you may haven't. Our Division I basketball team is the best college mascot ever. It's a riverboat gambler because you couldn't have casinos on land in Indiana. So it's a guy wearing a purple blazer and his name's Ace. So the Evansville Purple Aces are that team. Anywho, so went to Indiana University. I'm a big Hoosier guy, ran the Alumni Association out here. But more to my work background, as you mentioned, I was a finance guy. So I did KPMG's deal advisory group doing cross-border M&A. Really loved the work there. Got to travel the world. Got to tell Fortune 500 CFOs how to do their job, which was interesting as a 22-year-old. And then I jumped into a very long Uber X ride across the country from New York to San Francisco to join Uber's post-Travis Kalanick era, really riding the ship and launching products all over the globe. So bikes, scooters, self-driving vehicles, self-flying vehicles. Uber is a platform, some of the investments that happened during that time. And ultimately, the gold star was helping Uber IPO. But then I decided, Uber's chaos wasn't enough. So I went to the most chaotic place that you could possibly go outside of Uber, which was Softbank's Vision Funds, and tested the water there, was on the finance team, helped guide some of the investment teams for Vision Fund 2. And around May of 2021, I did this program. If you guys are you guys familiar with the Morning Brew newsletter?
No. No.
So the Morning Brew newsletter is like a modern media company success story. So two guys from Michigan basically built it grassroots all the way up into this behemoth. And now they have a newsletter for everything. And so when the pandemic hit, they were like, well, our business is mostly advertising. How do we expand out into an impactful way that we want to embetter the world with? And so they decided to launch a learning program. And so that learning program was, how do we enable professionals to reskill in a digital world? And so they called that the Morning Brew Accelerator, so accelerating your digital skills. So I was actually the first person that got into that. The very first cohort. Didn't know that at the time, found that out much later. And I met this whole team of founders as part of my group assignment there. And I realized in those discussions that I was like every bit as capable as the people that I was working with, but I was just too, for lack of a better way to say it, chicken crap to jump into entrepreneurship. And it was something where I had always kind of known that finance wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I could do it, and I had this like different skill set than most of the people I worked with, but it finally clicked and I finally had the courage. And so then that's when I really started to think, let's start a company. I almost went full diamond hands into a crypto music NFT company, which I'm very much glad I didn't at this point. And my fraternity brother did his AI PhD with my co-founders, Costas. And he was like, that sounds really hard. What do you know about generative AI? And I was like, I know enough. This OpenAI, this is pre-GPT-3, all that sort of stuff. And so I jumped in. And that's really what brought me here. I could say that the real reason I wanted to join was that both of my parents are entrepreneurs. So my mother's a painter. She paints people's homes, paints some murals, does really incredible work, can make a wall turn into like exposed brick. And my dad was a real estate appraiser. But in small communities, most business is relationship driven, especially for small businesses. And I saw firsthand the impact that not having a marketing engine or an understanding of digital marketing could really impact your business when those relationships dry up. And so that's what ultimately drove us to build Go Charlie from my standpoint. And we've been at it ever since.
Nice. When did you guys, so what year did you guys decide to start building out the Go Charlie platform?
Yeah. So I joined full time on my birthday, January 12th, 2022. And then we released our MVP in May of 2022, which was god awful. Like they say that if you're not embarrassed of your first product, then you waited too long to launch. We definitely didn't wait too long to launch. Let me tell you that.
Did you launch beta? That was your beta iteration, or like?
Yeah. So we launched that on AppSumo. It was theoretically a functioning product, but we were very much still figuring this out.
Sure.
And we got a whole bunch of really excited people in early. And those 100 excited people ultimately helped us shape the platform that we then truly launched in what I view as really the start of our product journey, which is September of last year. And that was Charlie 2.0, as we called it. We expanded to longer form writing capabilities. We expanded to a Grammarly for engagement of your content. We expanded to content repurposing, so YouTube into like blog writing capabilities, and really started to make our impact on the map.
Wild. It seems like a super short time frame to ramp it up and have it out there and available.
Yeah. I mean, I am very lucky that the team that I chose to take a bet on is here. We have a rock star CTO that built our MVP in basically a day. And then we have 2 AI PhDs that the stuff they've showed me that AI can do just still mind boggles me.
Yeah.
The beauty is that we have this team that can build the AI, but for the unanointed here, building the AI is only one part of the equation. Deploying the AI and then deploying it effectively enough to scale is a whole nother animal. And fortunately, we have both components on this team, which is really awesome to see.
So that brings up a really good point, or question, I guess, is how is Go Charlie? How is it, I guess, structured? How is the AI kind of layered in the stack? Are you guys from the ground up on the AI portion? Are you layered on top of, say, OpenAI's DaVinci, or like where are you guys kind of in that? Are you using the base from ChatGPT and then building a stack on top of that? How does it work with you guys?
Yeah, so that's one of the beauties and one of the differentiators of the team that we've assembled. So we can and have built our own proprietary technologies. There's a field called LLM maximization. So large language model maximization. Large language model is OpenAI's DaVinci for those that don't know. But that's really understanding how to maximize the extraction from an AI model via super in-tune prompts. So we can also do that. So we do use DaVinci for part of our stack.
Yep.
And then we also are able to take open source models that have been developed for specific purposes and adapt that to our technology stack and customize it. So Stable Diffusion was a prime example of this. They dropped that open source model out there. We took that and made heavy customizations, changed the engine around, changed the capabilities around, even have it talking to different models within our own stack. So we're a combination of everything. We're a bit of a Frankenstein. At any given time, we have 15 models running on the platform.
All right. All right.
Wow. Are you are the 15 different models, are some of those models are for the same purpose? So they're competing and seeing which one delivers better results?
It's more so where there is a need for a very specific functionality, we will develop something that is customized if we don't see something that's already out there. So prime example of this is we were the first to launch image to ad. So what image to ad is it takes a photo, the AI determines what's in the photo, and then feeds that into a model and then uses the LLM to create copywriting out of it. So it's like, you have to have a computer vision model, you have to have a computer vision to tokenization model, and then you have to have that tokenization into the large language model capability, and then a prompt on the end of that. So like, that's 4 models working together all at once. Content repurposing is something similar, where depending upon the inputs and outputs you choose, it's going to choose from a bevy of different models.
So let's just talk to me like I'm 10 years old on this. So if I had a picture of our brand new apartment building that we just bought, and we wanted to do, let's say, a blog post on multifamily in general, garden style multifamily, we could take a picture, we can take an existing picture of that multifamily property, put it through, and maybe add some keywords and have your guys' app kind of spit out a blog post, or what does it kind of spit out on the back end?
So right now, images and input is mostly to create ad copy. So it's like product-based images. But we have every bit of capability, and it's actually coming, where you could write a blog from that. Right now, what we have is like, if you had an audio or video of that property, we'd be able to turn that into a blog or a social media campaign. Now, I would say as a 5-year-old, if you have a multifamily property, that's pretty impressive. Like,
Well, 10. I mean,
I don't know if
This is America. I know some sponsors that have their kids listed on their LLCs, and they're having them work for them for free. So
yeah,
for the write-offs.
But Mark, I think you nail it on the head. Is like, one of the things I felt a lot of the chat GPTs of the world, the Jaspers of the world, the copy.AIs of the world, they've done a really good job of onboarding people to the utility of AI. But one of the things they're failing at is like, they're not meeting their users where they are. Like chat GPT was the first time I felt like one of these AI products really met the user where they are. But for us, it's like, you may have this whole bevy of library of content, like your brand creative, your existing videos, your audio. Hell, you have your podcasts. Bring that to the table, and let's help you turn that into other ways to tell your story. And so that's what the content repurposing engine does. But we think that you should be able to start anywhere, either idea, video, image, text, and end anywhere else that you need to get, all with Charlie being that creation and optimization layer.
As part of your Go Charlie services, Brennan, let's say we want to become a customer, do you have people, support staff that help onboard, that work with the customer and identifying what they're trying to achieve and what assets they have, and help them determine the best Go Charlie tools to achieve their goals?
So the short answer right now is no. It's mostly self-service. We have a whole host of tutorials on YouTube on how to use the product. Those are not as apparent as I would like in the product right now. So we're doing a bit of a revamp on the UI. However, Zach, what you're highlighting is very much a need that we're seeing and solving for, which is, what do I create? What should I be making? If I know I want to target these people, how should my content change? How should the platforms that I utilize and create content for change based upon a different demographic? And so ChatGPT will introduce the world to chat. What we're going to do is introduce a interface that's super intuitive to guide you. And so we're not trying to be just a content creation engine. We're trying to be a full service marketing assistant where you come to the platform, you tell us your problem. Charlie will be able to figure out what strategy you should use, what platform you should post to, then create the content, and then eventually tell you when and where to distribute all this content, because distribution is a huge part of any marketing strategy. But first, we wanted to lay that bedrock of being able to tell stories across multiple content with campaigns in a click.
Sure.
And then do you guys have some type of like A/B testing or some other type of capability to see how effective the content creation is?
So that's coming in that wave, because part of the distribution is being able to link into the engagement metrics of the various platforms. So that's another reason I want to focus on distribution, just to plug better into their data to make sure that we're engineering and A/B testing as much as possible.
Yeah. Because when I was just playing around on Go Charlie, it gives you like 4 or 6 different outputs once you enter in, like your title and your keywords for whether it's a blog or a social media post. And then you can read through and say, well, these two aren't really it, but these two really look pretty good.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. You also have a way to score different aspects of the results, right?
Totally. Yeah. And just on your last note, Zach, the reason that we have 4 options for most of the key, let's call them basic use cases that only take 2 inputs to get, is because marketing best practices tells you to have a variety of numbers of the same copy so that you can do that A/B testing. So we're giving you the capabilities to do it.
Right.
It's just not so intuitive. Most people think, oh, you gave me 4 options, I choose the best one. In actuality, it should be 4 great options, and you kind of test each.
Right.
Now, content scoring, we're moving into content grading as the naming, but this is like super fascinating. So I talked about the AI PhDs and how powerful they are. So they have distilled billions of pieces of content down, like billions, into what are the core commonalities across these pieces of content that each user should understand to make this the most engaging piece of content it can be. So the best way to frame grading is thinking like Grammarly, but Grammarly is really helping you make sure that you're structurally correct. Well, structurally correct is actually only one part of the whole optimizing for engagement piece. So we have a category called correctness. That's literally, are you grammatically correct, structurally correct, all that. That's fun. That's the basics. But then you want to have, am I free of bias? Yes or no? Because bias is super important and timely in today's marketing content. Am I at the proper level of readability?
Let me just go back. What do you mean when you say free of bias? What does that mean?
Does it have sexual content? Does it have harmful content? Does it have hate speech? Does it have, violent, inciting type language?
Got it. Okay.
Those types of things. Most of that we try to sort out with our content filter, but some stuff still gets through. And we obviously can't adjust like what the user chooses to edit with. So that's a part as well. But then the third piece here is readability. So readability is, did you guys actually know that the ideal reading level for any piece of content is 5th grade reading level?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We'll put that one to the side, but that was mind-boggling to me when I found that out. But if you have a more technical audience, maybe your readability score is a little bit lower because you want to appeal to more technical audience. We give you that capability. And then the rest is mostly just making sure that like you're talking in an active voice. Is it correct in terms of its grammar? But then the last piece is really cool as well. We can assess whether you have a call to action in your content. So for all the marketers out there, never do anything without a call to action. That's like I try to think about marketing similar to a theatrical performance. Like it should ensnare you, it should make you think, but in that moment of thought, marketing takes it a step further and puts an idea in your head, tells you to do something. And so if you don't have the call to action, then you're probably not doing it right. And so that's what the grading capabilities do.
So let's say you get a grading you create a social media post, it gives you a grade on all of these various aspects. And let's say, for example, the call to action, you didn't have a call to action when you entered in your keyword searches. So it gives you an F.
Yeah.
Are you able to go in and adjust the actual copy provided, or do you redo the keywords and put it in the keywords? Or how do you adjust?
So there's multiple ways that you can do it. Where we will eventually get is based upon the scores that you get, you'll have a button where you click it and it just rewrites or regenerates to solve that particular issue. But the reason that we've done it in a set of components is that like some components pull against each other, as you can imagine. So sometimes you might include a call to action, but then the readability might be impacted, or the commonality, or the directness. So like there's all these things that play into a weighting, and ultimately each part of that grade is weighted to get you to the overall grade. And so some things are more important than others. Like structurally correct is super important. Readability is super important. Call to action isn't the most important, but in actuality, if you don't have a call to action in marketing, it's not going to work. But it all kind of works together. So that's why if you press a button to just change one thing, it's going to screw something else up.
I see. One thing that, with this whole kind of like a newbie copywriter and I actually am embracing this whole AI kind of experience, especially me being a Gen Xer and never ever thinking we'd ever be where we are now. And knowing that I still have another 20, 30 years to like hopefully explore the world to come, right? Because
maybe another 100 years, depending on how this tech works out.
We get life extension and all that stuff. But just in terms of copywriting, what I really love about what I love is, and there's this argument out here that it's immoral to kind of, accept the creativity or use a bridge to creativity like AI, right? Like don't do a social media post because it's not coming from you. That's immoral, unethical, or something like that. And that's just weird to me, right? Because I feel like not everybody is a natural writer. And just me spewing something out, it isn't perfect either. And so having a bridge to be able to fine tune is helpful to me. And I'm fine with it. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just wondering, one of the things that I always find missing in these dry conversations about marketing and, the always be closing and the AIDC and all this stuff, right? It is like, where's the personal connection? And maybe what I'm getting at is it possible to layer in, without being too cheesy and evident, like persuasiveness and psychographics, and people talk about the avatar, but it's become so overused now. You're talking very dryly about some people that you don't have a connection with and things like that. Is it possible to lay that in? It feels like AI is perfect for figuring that kind of stuff out. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially psychographics and taking those elements of your target audience and really layering it in a nuanced way. Is that possible?
Yeah. So first off, Zach, I don't know if you heard Mark, but I think you said our conversation was the dry marketing conversation. So we gotta hold it.
Man.
But no, so I think you bring up a really interesting point. Well, several interesting points. And there's one part that I want to go back to, but the short answer is yes. Like, there's a psychology behind marketing. Like, great marketers are great psychologists because they understand how people's brains work. And so you have to engineer to how people's brains work. The initial conversation Kostas and I actually had was about, if I like Twitter threads and he likes academically dense articles, I want an AI engine that could feed the same piece of content to me as a Twitter thread and to him as an academic paper. So that's one layer of this hyper-personalization is what I like to call it, where you're serving people content in the way they want to see it viewed. So that's one layer of it. Take it another layer further. If you're an enterprise and you're trying to market to your existing customer base, you have all of this data on the customer. You could theoretically take your product engine, match that up with all the data you have about the customer, and you could recommend products, but the content that you're recommending the products through is adapted to that specific person's demographic, preference of content they want to see, their life situation, depending on how much information. Like for financial services firms, this is going to be a wild adaptation. But like, the more data you have, the more customized the AI can become. So you could literally get a version of the internet that is you, that is just adapted to you, your preferences. And that's what I think people woke up to with ChatGPT, is like, you can literally get to a place where everything is customized to your preferences. Now, will that have unintended follow-on consequences? I think so, because then people will probably view the world in only their way of viewing the world. And I think people have to learn how to view the world from other people's perspectives. But the answer is yes. You can theoretically neuroengineer content and anything else you can think of using AI eventually.
One of the guests that we previously had on AI was an artist, and she was using AI to create visual artwork. And what became very apparent is so much of the skill involved in creating artwork through AI is figuring out the right keyword prompts and phrases.
Yes.
And it's probably something similar, I would imagine, when you're trying to create a blog or a post or some type of marketing, and you're trying to target a certain profile.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to characterize that profile in the keyword input that you put into your AI tool.
That's one of the reasons, I don't want to interrupt here, but that's one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of problem or concerns about people saying it's unethical or immoral to use this as a bridge, because, having used the tools, I know the work that you have to put into it. It's less work, but you have to put work in to find the right prompts and to creatively think around the problem of how do I ask this a question and fine tune that question enough to create exactly what I want and what's perfect, right?
Yeah.
And there's creativity in that, and there's a humanness in that. Maybe eventually we'll get past that, but right now, it's still a tool, right?
Yeah. The very first public pitch I gave on this company is that AI will be the paintbrush of this decade and century, most likely. It's not meant to be a replacement for humans. That's another unethical thing that people get into the business of. It will replace entry-level jobs, but I think most people doing entry-level jobs don't want to do entry-level jobs anyway. That's just my theory, but other people have different stances. Now, I completely agree with you, Mark, that it takes a lot of work to make a masterpiece with AI. I've created an AI image generator, and I still suck at prompt engineering. I'm not the best at it. But the stuff that I've seen our users create because they spend the time to learn the model and learn that tool, it's the same way as a musical instrument. You have to spend time learning to be a violinist before you can be the first violin in a symphony. It's still very difficult to be really, really good at it. Now, is AI making it easier? Yes. But what I'm thinking here is that AI is actually getting you over that initial creative hurdle.
Absolutely.
The incremental cost of creating is now lower. But what a beautiful thing that is. How many stories, how many ideas are trapped behind that inability to create? As you were saying, Mark, I talked to someone the other day that was dyslexic, and our tool gave them the confidence to write and talk about their ideas because it could create in grammatically correct prose. It could create in a way that they could understand. Yeah. And the tool was so intuitive. And so it's I understand the unethical part about creating with AI. I think it's mostly centered around people's works being ripped without them getting credibility and money.
Or education.
Or education. But on the other side of it, I'm the societal benefits of having more people that are able to create and tell their stories and bring net new things into the world, I think far outweighs that.
Yeah. Without getting ahead of myself, I feel like there's a catalyst there that may be bigger than pretty much, than the majority is really understanding, right? Everybody's trying right now using the tool to kind of get ahead somehow in their businesses or in their life or whatever they're doing creativity wise. But in terms of having an exponential, a tool that can create exponential change, there's possibilities now that we see that are big, that are really big, that can be really, really big if you're thinking about it, and not just Terminator type of stuff. I'm just talking about, just like neural networks, right? And as long as we have the computing power, how far can that expand, So what can it do?
It's we could riff on this forever, but I know this is not the same. So if there's any artists listening, I apologize. My mother's a painter. I want to respect the hell out of artists. It is really hard to do what you guys do. I am nowhere near that level of capability. But let's extrapolate this to a different line of thinking. So one of the things that these transformer models could do is you could theoretically feed the patient data from every single person that's ever had cancer into a model. And not only would the AI model be able to run iterations at a pace humans could not, but it can come up with its own field of science to then solve cancer. Like, this is the level of impact we're talking about with technologies. Like, AlphaFold out of DeepMind, like some of the stuff that DeepMind is doing is far beyond what we could ever even fathom being possible. And it's happening at such a quick speed. And so like, I'm focusing on the marketing part because I have a, rooted interest in making marketing a lot easier for people to help them pursue their entrepreneurial dreams. But like, this technology unlocks so many things that we can't even imagine, which gets me super excited about where we're going.
Are your PhDs, are they, I mean, obviously it sounds like they're staying on top of all of that stuff that you're talking about, just the research part of it. And I always wonder, is it one of those things where AI has gotten to the point where it's starting to move faster than the researchers can catch up because it's finding new things, or are humans still kind of ahead of the curve in terms of, where things are going right now? Do you think?
Yeah. So I think it's impossible for anyone to stay on top of all the things that are happening in AI right now. Like, there's some hilarious tweets out there that are like, oh, I was offline for 3 hours. I must have missed 100 AI breakthroughs or 100 new AI papers. the pace of the innovation in this space is crazy now. Like, it's kind of like OpenAI figured out how to run a 4-minute mile, and everybody's now trying to run a 4-minute mile, which is awesome. Great stuff. It's going to be a very rough transition period because all of this is happening so quickly. Yeah. But yes, there's so many ways that this all plays out that we haven't even thought about yet. But more to your point about like, are humans staying out front of AI? So the short answer is right now, yes. So like the AI is being developed under the supervision of humans. But some of the listeners may remember that years back, there was 2 AI bots that learned how to talk in a way that humans couldn't understand. And so they shut down those bots that were transacting in this ununderstandable language. I think that was a little overblown at the time, but that's very, very, very well where we can get to in the near future, is that you'll have AI building AI, right? It's the same way with like Tesla. It's like Tesla will have Tesla robots building Tesla robots type thing. Like, eventually we get to that pace, and then the speed of innovation just skyrockets because you literally have the technology building itself. And you're already starting to see some of those things. I think Scale AI had a hackathon, and it was like GPT-3 is all you need. And it was literally using GPT-3 as the entire back end of a software platform instead of using any sort of tech stack, which
amazing.
That blew my mind. But it's like AI that learns how to code could theoretically code everything on an as needed basis. Think about just-in-time manufacturing, but doing just-in-time coding. What does that open up? That opens up adaptive UIs based upon the individual user. Like,
that's crazy.
It's going to be crazy the way that this all plays out.
Well, in terms of Go Charlie, like, I'm just trying to think, because like right now, if you go to ChatGPT or DALL-E, it takes there's a steep learning curve in terms of putting the inputs in to get what you have in your mind as the output. So and those are like experimental platforms, right, for ultimately kind of educational purposes. But for Go Charlie, to make it a useful tool, it seems to me one of the things you want to do in terms of differentiating it from ChatGPT is to make it as user-friendly as possible for non-techies to go in there and have in their mind a certain result and help them get to that result. So I understand you don't have like hand-holding, tech support, but I'm sure what you're doing with respect to the YouTube videos and other support mechanisms is to try to help them along to use the tool effectively.
Totally. So we try to make it as intuitive as possible to where when you come to the platform, all you need is like the base level of what you need would be your brand name and a description of your brand. So maybe that brand is you. Maybe that brand is your service. Maybe that brand is the business that you operate. All we need that, and then a little bit of information about what it is, and you can create 50 different types of content just from those 2 inputs. But then more to your point, we do try to make it super intuitive with tutorials. So that's part of it. But then we also have a product community. So in that product community, people are able to talk back and forth about, hey, this is what I did to make this work, or hey, this is what I did to get this output. Here's how you can do it for yourself. And then on top of that, we have all this other stuff that's happening in the AI sphere where people are selling and buying prompts. This is particularly interesting for images. And so people bring those prompts into our platform and are able to generate somewhat similar things. And then from those prompts are able to understand, okay, this is how I need to be thinking about talking to this model. So it's like kind of rising tides lifts all boats. People start to chat GPT. I think the beauty of that technology was that it made it as simple as talking to a friend like you or I, or how you would normally talk with search. That's what we endeavor to do as well. But we want to make sure that we're not just money grabbing, hey, we have a chat functionality. We want to make sure that it's, hey, this assistant is able to coach you through your marketing. Yeah. We think that's the verticalized play, because if you go generalist, you're going to get destroyed by OpenAI.
Let's talk about that for a second. So I actually have a kind of a newer marketing company. I'm playing around with some stuff, online stuff. And and I'm very familiar with AppSumo. I think I saw you guys, before. It's not available anymore. Darn it. So, but were you guys using AppSumo as a kind of a demo kind of model to get started, get some people excited about it? Do you plan on offering another lifetime deal, or you guys on the subscription model now? And
so I won't rule out lifetime deals ever, but I don't think it's going to be like a prolonged period of time. We might release it from ourselves as like a Founders Day celebration, which is July 1st. Might just drop that Easter egg there. Like, hey, one day lifetime deal, create some scarcity. For those that are trying to go from 0 to 1 with your startup, AppSumo was super helpful for us. It was a platform that gave us some exposure before I even really knew how to get that. Now I've started to get a mastery of like, here's the channels that you use, here's the people you need to know, here's how you should talk about it to shoot things up into the atmosphere. Sure. Product Hunt was another example of that as well. But for us, we did move towards, a subscription-based model. Yeah. One, because that recurring revenue helps us fund operations, helps us build the team. Two, VCs want to focus on MRR, even though we're super early in our journey. But three, it keeps people bought in to pushing us to improve the product. I think that's one part of the subscription model that most people don't get. It's kind of like LeBron in his last Cleveland stint. It's like, I'm going to sign a 1-year contract and I'm going to force you to get better players to be around me. And the subscription model kind of does that. Like, people buy a subscription, and if you're not fulfilling the things that they want to be able to do, or you really screw up the product on your next launch, then they'll be like, I'm gone. I'm going to LA.
That's a good point, actually.
And so we kind of want that accountability to our customers. We want that continuous push towards innovation. And we want that pressure. And the lifetime deals kind of creates a perverse set of incentives. There's a black market for selling these things, which is really awesome. But it creates some security concerns from our perspective. So
interesting.
Long-winded answer, but if you're looking to go from 0 to 1, get your first 100 customers, AppSumo's your friend.
And so on that as well, in terms of, so putting aside, even if it was a subscription model, do you have plans to do like I don't even know if it's a white label or an agency model where somebody who might have an agency who normally would go to, outsource to some sort of copywriter or something like that can really, have it in-house and build it through and offer it to their customers? Is that something that you guys have as well?
Definitely. So I have a couple friends that run agencies. So they're adding the subscription as kind of a maintenance add-on for their service offering. So they offer a subscription to their clients once they've done the initial setup. Yep. And they're like, look, you guys need to be doing maintenance posts across your social media accounts, but I'm not going to leave you hanging. Use this tool and you can create all that stuff.
Cool.
So we're white labeling that way. Another way that we're looking to white label is APIs. So like content grading, we could very well API out to other platforms if they see use in it. Our own model, we could API out. We are also considering doing custom enterprise models that can do a lot of the marketing stuff. So there's a lot of different ways that you can play with this, but it's where does it feel like the market is right now? And right now it feels like the market's a prosumer model and then adding more teams, but all within our own UI.
Yeah, totally. Not on. I'm going to go sign up. I'm going to try it out.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's fun.
There you go.
Well, tell our listeners how they can go check out Go Charlie, find out information about it. I mean, I was able to get on there and play with that without signing up. So right now, it looks like if anyone's interested, they can go on there and just start having fun with the different components.
Yeah. So I like to drop actionable nuggets for other entrepreneurs anytime I do talk. So we won Product Hunt last week with our campaign in a click. We January 26th, I think was the day. One product of the day, which was awesome, a huge avenue for exposure if you can do it successfully. So people can find us on Product Hunt, but they can also find us just by going to gocharlie.ai, and that will bring you to our landing page. You can see Charlie doing a bunch of cute things on there. I think you can even see our spot in Times Square, where we got a free feature in Times Square in our first year, which was, I'm still getting chills when I think about it. You can go on there, you can sign up without a credit card, you can use the tool in a limited fashion there. I will say very soon, in short order, we're going to be moving towards a intent to pay type model. So you'll get a 7-day free trial. You can use the platform however you wish, but at the end of those 7 days, your card will get charged. So if you want to try it for free, now is the time. But we will still always offer a little bit of an on-ramp to get you used to using the product. Make sure that it fits your needs, because last thing we want is you paying for something that doesn't necessarily solve the problem that you think you have.
Yeah.
And then are you on LinkedIn?
I am.
Yeah. Because it sounds like you like to talk about this stuff, and I bet you that's probably a good place to, for people to connect with you.
Yeah, we may or may not have a LinkedIn thought leadership engine coming down the pipe for Charlie, for those of you that like to talk.
Oh, interesting.
Very cool.
So I'm pretty excited about that. Normally I just like freehand my stuff, but the rest of our team isn't quite as let's call it unhinged as me. So they like something that adds a little bit of structure. But yeah, LinkedIn, Brennan M. Woodruff, and I have a dog emoji behind my name for Charlie. So that's how you can find me. I'm very active on there. My Instagram's Brennan Woodruff. My Facebook, friend me on there. Half of our customers are friends on my Facebook. It's kind of amazing. I woke up and there was like thousands of people wishing me happy birthday from all over the world. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty awesome.
How do you know they weren't AI, though? That's the question. Just kidding.
There's no real way to know.
You got to take it, actually. Just take it. Actually, what would be cool is just as a parting thought is, hopefully this AI thing will help us boomers, even Gen Xers or boomers right now, make that connection into TikTok. So, boomer thought leadership into TikTok using AI would be awesome. Go Charlie can help with that.
So I don't think my mom's going to listen to this one, but like, Mom, if you do, I'm sorry about this story I'm about to tell, but my mom's name is Barb Woodruff. And I have been trying to get her to launch, because she's very personality driven. That's where I got all my pizzazz from. I've been trying to get her to make a Barbara Ross, like, art teaching type thing and do Zoom. But the big hurdle we can't get over is figuring out Zoom. Yeah, I'm like, wow, this is like the most intuitive thing ever. And so like that is a worry of mine, that like if we're still having trouble getting people to figure out phones and Zoom, like how are they going to figure out talking to these AI models? And so that gets back to making it a really easy product to use. But Mom, shout out to you. Thank you for making me possible. Sorry for outing you for your Zoom inadequacies.
Well, this has been great. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I think it was a great conversation.
Of course, guys. Hope we can do it again soon.
All right. Thanks, Benjamin. Bye.
10X for Gen XYZ is hosted by Zach Winter and Mark Adair Rios, co-founders of Prosperity CRE, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and building long-term wealth. If you like the podcast, please give us a positive rating and subscribe to be notified about future content. Also, if you'd like to learn more about our approach to real estate investing, you can download a free copy of our real estate investment book, Investing for Cash Flow and Long-Term Wealth, by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thank you, and stay tuned for our upcoming episodes.